Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of the Creepyauticals series. And in this series, I talk about the gossip that the Exoticals are hearing out in these internet streets. And one of the questions that I see floating around is people talking about admixtures. And some people want to know what I think of women who are maybe they're not necessarily mixed race, or maybe they don't have a parent who is like white, or maybe they don't have a grandparent who is white, but they have admixtures throughout the generations of their family. So let's say you're like 15% Irish, 10% Italian, 20% Asian, or something like that. What do I think of that? My response is I feel the same way about that as I do about every other identity in the exotical community. You have the right to either embrace or not embrace any part of your identity that you so choose. So obviously, I tend to lean more towards you embracing every part of yourself. So I don't actually care how much admixture a person has. I think that a lot of people, when they see the exotical space, they're confusing genotype with phenotype. So this sector on YouTube supports women from both groups. So for example, let's say that you are 90% African and you're 10% European, but you happen to be a light-skinned black woman. I would say that if your admixture is showing up in your phenotype, so if that little bitty 10% caused you to have a high yellow skin tone or something, my question is, why would you not embrace that side of yourself? Why would you deny something that has caused your entire phenotype to begin to change? Who cares if you actually have a direct connection to that or not? So I think that one of the side effects of the exotical space is that some women who are monoracial, they're starting to embrace their admixtures. And I never had a problem with that. And I think that some people who wanted an exclusive space only for mixed women, those are the only people who get mad. It's only the mixed race supremacists who get mad at like light-skinned black women, for example, if they want to embrace their admixture, or if they want to acknowledge it, or if it happens to show up in their phenotype and they're like, hey, I already look like this, so I might as well just learn a little bit about it. Or, people keep asking me if I'm part Asian and I have the eyes or something, so I might as well start learning about it. I don't have a problem with that because that's called having a fluid identity. The only people who get mad at you being monoracial and having a fluid identity are mixed race supremacists. And this channel does not support any form of hierarchy thinking. So I don't care what somebody's admixture is. I don't care if they want to embrace their admixture, if they want to ignore their admixture, if they only want to identify with blackness, if they want to learn about their ancestors or something. I don't care about any of that because it's not my place to tell somebody else what their identity is. Have you ever noticed that the same people who police your identity, they don't walk up to Italian white women and say, oh, excuse me, you're only 85% Italian. You're not 100% Italian. Oh, excuse me, Janet, you are only 75% Asian, so you don't get to rep this identity. No, I don't see them going up to non-black people and policing their identities. They're only policing the identities of people in the exotical space because they are threatened by the unity and the influence and the diversity that we have here. So mixed race supremacists have this mindset of, how dare you be darker than me and have a fluid identity like me? How dare you be blacker than me and receive the same type of privileges that I'm receiving? Those are the only people that get mad about the whole admixture thing. I never cared about that from the time that I began this channel. And that's exactly why people from the former golden sphere did not like me, because they didn't like that I included people on my YouTube channel who look mixed, but they're not mixed. And by the way, when I use the term mixed race, I'm talking about people who are 25% or more with their admixtures. So when it comes to an admixture, like if your combined admixture is more than 25%, at that point, it's laughable for you to say that that person is not mixed race. But anything below that, I consider that to be admixtures. The only people who were mad about me including those people are the people who only wanted an exclusive space just for mixed race people. So that's why they're trying to use colorism, texturism, or featureism to try to make the monoracial women with admixtures, they're trying to make those women feel inferior because they have less whiteness in their actual DNA. They want you to feel inferior to a person who's like 25% or 50% white or 75% white. They have hierarchy thinking. So they're putting non-blackness on a pedestal. So that's why they're saying stuff like, oh, well, you're too black to be exotic. What they really mean is you don't look non-black passing, and so therefore you are just regular. You're at the bottom. You're not special, basically. They're trying to say you're not special because you don't have enough white blood to make you special. You don't have enough Asian blood to make you special. You don't have enough Hispanic ancestry to make you special. That's the talking point they're trying to give. So it's literally based on this hierarchy thinking. And also, when it comes to something like admixture, why is it that every other racial group on this entire earth has people within those groups who celebrates their admixture except for African Americans? Did you know that even people in Africa are aware that there are some African Americans who have admixtures? So then why is it that suddenly an African American monoracial woman, now she's not allowed to even talk about or discuss or even ask questions about her admixture? Do you see what I mean about people wanting to control your identity? But the good news is other people don't get to tell you how to navigate through society. Other people are just mad because they thought that they were the only one receiving that fluid identity when in reality they weren't. And those are just people who are very uneducated. They just don't understand sociology. They don't understand how society actually works. If you're receiving a certain privilege, like pretty privilege or mixed race privilege or light skin privilege, whatever the privilege is, you don't have to be the lightest woman in the world to get light skin privilege. You don't have to be the most mixed up, racially ambiguous woman in the world to get mixed privilege. You don't have to have the curliest hair in the world or the loosest textured hair to benefit from texturism. Like, you don't have to be number one on the scale or something. Like it's some sort of pyramid and you have to sit at the top of the pyramid just to access the privilege. No, that's not how life actually works. Either you have access to the privilege or you don't. Either you have access to the fluid identity or you don't. So if somebody is monoracial and they have admixture and their admixture is giving them access to the fluid identity, then who gon' check them? Like Aaliyah J, for example. I don't think that Aaliyah J is mixed race. I'm pretty sure she's monoracial. Okay, but because of whatever admixture she has, even if she only has 5%, whatever, this is how she looks. So who gonna check her? She has a million subscribers on YouTube because of her phenotype being linked to a fluid identity. So yes, people are going to look at her at first glance and they're going to ask themselves questions about her ethnic or racial background. At the end of the day, race is a social construct, and this channel plays on that fact. So the exotical community accepts both groups. We accept people who are either mixed race or they quote unquote look mixed. I know that looking mixed, there's not an actual phenotype, but in terms of stereotypes, people would stereotype somebody like Aaliyah J maybe as quote unquote looking mixed, or they'll probably ask her questions. Like, if you benefit from an ism, that's really what that means. Anytime somebody says you look mixed, what they really mean is you benefit from an ism. So that's why we use that term. It's not because we're trying to promote isms or say that isms are good. No, it's because whenever someone says you look mixed, what they really mean is you benefit from either colorism, texturism, or featureism. That's what they're saying. And usually the reason that you benefit from one of those isms is because there is something in your bloodline or some sort of genetic variation that you have that is causing you to look that way. So if women choose to embrace that admixture, or if they are curious about that part of their background, I see no problem with that, because you cannot police other people's identities. You can't control how other people navigate through society. Why is it that every other identity on this earth is self-identified? You get to choose whether or not to identify as gay. You get to choose whether or not to identify as Democrat or Republican. You get to choose to identify as whatever gender. So why is it that you can choose all of your other identities, but suddenly when it comes to a made-up identity on the internet, we literally just took this term and created our own definition. This is literally a made-up slang term, exotical. As soon as you choose that, oh my God, you can't pick that. You can't choose that. Oh, you're too black. You're too dark. No, you're not like that. Oh, you look too much like an unambiguous black woman. You look just like so-and-so. It's like, no, why do you care so much about who identifies as an exotical and who doesn't? If you police it, you're pedestalizing it. And also, in real life, people don't actually have control over your identity. The only people who want to control your identity are those who are threatened by it. Think about the types of people that try to control who identifies as gay. Think about the types of people who try to control Democrats and Republicans. Usually these are bigoted people. Usually these people are bigoted. Usually these people have hierarchy thinking. Usually these people think that you are wrong for your identity. So are those really the types of people that you want to listen to? Ignorant, prejudiced people? And then for the people who say stuff like, oh, well, what if the rest of your family is dark skinned? Or what if the rest of your family only identifies with blackness? Did you know that that same question is what they ask mixed race people as well? There are mixed people who only identify as black. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Mixed Race Bill of Rights, but I will pull it up here. It was created by the American Psychological Association, and it literally says, I have the right not to justify my existence in this world. That means you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You don't have to explain how you're mixed or who has what bloodline. Also, look at number 2. I have the right not to keep the races separate within me. So that means that if you want to identify as both, or if you only want to identify as one, or if you want to create your own nickname to identify your racial or ethnic background, you have that right. I have the right not to justify my ethnic legitimacy. So this means that you're not illegitimate because you don't have enough admixture or something like that. Like, first of all, there are people who are 100% Nigerian who still eat Italian food. They still eat Asian food. So they're still engaging in these non-black cultures. So why is it that suddenly you, as a person that has admixture, oh, but you're banned from identifying with or from having fun in the Italian culture? That literally goes against your rights as a person of mixed ancestry. Look at the next one. I have the right not to be responsible for people's discomfort with my physical or ethnic ambiguity. So that means that other people's discomfort with you using the term exotical, that is not your problem. That's their problem. So they can just stay mad. The next one says, I have the right to identify myself differently than strangers expect me to identify. Blackistan has no power over here. Hierarchy thinkers have no power over here. Some random losers on the internet, they have no power over how you choose to identify. The next one says, I have the right to identify myself differently than how my parents identify me. Okay, your parents are different people than you. They are different individuals than you. So just because back in Gen X or whatever, just because they only believed in the one drop rule, or they believed that it was anti-black to embrace their admixture, or they thought that it was bad to like be multicultural, guess what? You don't have to take on the limiting beliefs of your parents. The next one is, I have the right to identify myself differently than my brothers or sisters. So let's say you're mixed and you identify as biracial and your brother identifies only as black. Maybe he kind of erases his white side or something like that. So what? He's a different person than you. The next one says, I have the right to identify myself differently in different situations. That is called a fluid identity. And if other people get upset, they can stay mad. So for all the people who are talking shit about Kamala Harris, like, oh, well, she's not really black. Oh, yes, she is. Oh, no, she's not. Oh, she's Irish. She's Indian. She's this. She's that. Yeah, that's because race is a social construct. So depending on how or where you want to social climb or gain legitimacy, if you're at an HBCU, obviously it benefits you to identify only as black or to kind of play up that part of your ancestry. A lot of people get mad, but guess what? Latinos do this all the time. It's called tethering. So, and I can tell you as a fact that Latinos absolutely can tether onto their African admixture. Even if it's 5% or something, they will use that 5% admixture and get access to black scholarships. They'll win black HBCU pageants. They'll do all kinds of things so that they can attain the wealth that they need to have. Same thing goes with African Americans in the past who used to pass as white, even though they were not fully white. Technically, they tethered onto the white community so that they can survive. Okay, so that's a part of the Mixed Race Bill of Rights. I have the right to identify myself differently in different situations. The next one is, I have the right to create a vocabulary to communicate about being multiracial or multiethnic. So those are two different things. Being multiracial means that you have multiple races in your DNA. Being multiethnic means that you have multiple ethnicities within your family. So, like, if you're African American and Afro Hispanic, or maybe you have family from the Caribbean, you're multi-ethnic. So there are multiple different ethnicities and cultures and like customs and foods that you eat and stuff, and that's all a part of your background. So you're not the same ethnically as an African American who is monoracial and monocultural. The next one is I have the right to change my identity over my lifetime and more than once. So that means that if you go through a Hotep phase, guess what? The BWE space, which is basically like a bunch of black women Hoteps, that era on YouTube is coming to an end. Okay? The Exoticals have united, baby. So if you once identified only with one part of yourself and now you choose to be multifaceted, that is your right as a human being. So I don't care about the whole admixture thing. I never did. That's why I never really brought it up, because I didn't think that it would be this big of a deal. I didn't think people would be so offended by people embracing something as simple as an admixture, because I genuinely don't put races on hierarchies. So I never saw it as offensive. Like if somebody wants to embrace being 15% Filipino or something, I never saw that as threatening. Why would someone else's identity be threatening to me? Unless I'm prejudiced, of course. But the next one is, I have the right to have loyalties and identification with more than one group of people. So this means you don't have to pick a side. Doesn't matter if you're 60% black and only 40% white. Okay, well, if you identify with both, you get to embrace both. Or you get to flow in and out of both cultures. People can't tell you, oh, well, you're Creole, so you don't get to eat French food. You don't get to learn how to speak French. Oh, you're just trying to be white. Oh, Beyonce's trying to be white. She is white and black and whatever else she's mixed with. Okay, so when you are like multiracial or you have a lot of admixtures, you are black and white and Spanish and whatever. Whatever the admixtures are, all of those things are a part of you. So that's why it says right here in the Mixed Race Bill of Rights, I have the right to have loyalties and identification with more than one group of people. So people can't tell Beyonce, oh, you're not French enough to travel to France. You're not French enough to speak French. You're not French enough to date French men. You're not French enough because you're just Creole. No, that's called hierarchy thinking. Real life doesn't work in that way, because if Beyonce walks into a room full of French people and she says, I'm Creole, and my admixtures are French and Spanish and Native and African, then that's a conversation starter that she gets to have with French people that you don't get to have. So it sounds like you're just jealous. Anybody that gets mad at your identity, they sound like they're really just mad that you are receiving popularity and status. It's very similar to how people treat like LGBT people, religious people, political groups. They're literally just prejudiced against your particular identity. So guess what? Prejudiced people don't get to determine how I see myself, because I don't see myself through the eyes of a prejudiced person. But the next one is, I have the right to freely choose who I befriend and love. So other people don't get to tell you, oh, well, you're not Asian enough to hang out with Asian spaces. You're not Asian enough to call yourself Blasian Exotical. You're not Nigerian enough to rep that part of your ancestry. America is a melting pot. The whole world is a melting pot. People engage in cultures all the time without having not one drop of blood from that ancestral group. I don't have not one drop of Japanese blood running through my veins, but I eat Japanese food. I have watched Japanese TV shows. I've listened to Japanese music, and I don't have any Japanese in me. So it's like, if people who don't have any blood from that group in their ancestry and they can still engage in those cultures, why is it that suddenly people who have 10% of that blood, oh, now they can't do it? They can't engage in that culture. No, yes, they can. And anyone who disagrees is disagreeing with the American Psychological Association, and they're also disagreeing with the Bill of Rights for people of mixed heritage. It doesn't say only for 50-50 black, white, biracials. It doesn't say only for light-skinned people. It doesn't say only if you have 25% or more. All it says is this is the Bill of Rights for people of mixed heritage, meaning you or anyone in your family has that heritage. So it's basically one big way of saying, who gon' check me? Anyway, do you have admixtures? Have you started embracing any of your admixtures? Do you care about admixtures? Do you put people's race on a hierarchy? What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.